Oh, I love that. I always love that. Good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Lee, and you are signing into This is Live with Kevin Lee. And this is one of my podcasts that I do regularly where I bring on some leaders and luminaries and individuals, coaches, speakers, business owners, really just people making a difference in the world. One person, one heart, one soul at a time. And today I have the distinct privilege of bringing in a good friend of mine and a business colleague, Caron MacLane from the greater Seattle, Washington area. Welcome to the show, Caron.
Thank you, Kevin. It's so much fun to be here and to be able to connect like this on this format with you.
How did you like the heart-centered opening with the dancing?
I like the dancing.
I think that's better than a boring intro. I love it. Everybody has these cute little intros, and I'm like, well, maybe one day they make me, but right now I'll do a little dance in like Ellen. Fun. Well, I welcome you to the show, and what we do is I like to share individuals that have either written books or created programs, coaching programs, training programs that have built nonprofits or organizations. And I know that you're an author, and I also know that you're a public speaker, a motivational speaker. Would you mind sharing with our viewers a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. So I'm a clarity coach, and like a lot of people, I came to this through my upbringing. And my upbringing was with a narcissistic mother, and I was always hunting to fly beneath the radar, and she was negative towards me. Yeah. And what I did is I became invisible. I actually sometimes wondered how people even saw me.
Wow.
And then as I started coming out, I'm like, who am I? And I had to get clear on who I am. And since I was highly reinforced in school for asking questions, I learned how to ask questions really well.
Wow.
So I can ask you a zillion questions and learn so much juicy stuff about you. I just had to turn it on to me.
Huh.
And so then once I learned about me, then I got better at asking people things that are relevant, that are about them personally, about who they are, their inner being. And it has just been a delight.
And have you found that, especially when you were much younger or even into your teenage years, did you find that served you very well because it seemed to deflect people's attention from coming at you to more of maybe they even beamed, maybe they were amazed that you even would ask them questions about themselves. We know people love to talk about themselves. Did that help you in any way, all the questioning?
Oh my gosh, that question leads me to think that you have some information about this yourself, because
yes, that sounds like me.
I find that question in and of itself very insightful. Yeah. And so one of the things I believe about people is that what they say says more about them than it does about me. And I just thought your question was incredibly revealing about you and how to deflect people when they start to get a little bit closer. I would love them closer. However, it was my comfort zone that was an issue. Like, it was so far out of my comfort zone. I was like,
I love that. You know, it's interesting because a lot of public speakers and comedians and leaders have found, especially in their younger adulthood years, that when they would turn the attention that was coming towards them, whether it was positive or negative, whatever was a challenge for the individual, the recipient of that attention, they would use the humor or the inquisitive questions to basically create situations where people felt seen and appreciated in their own right. Like, so the comedians could tell a silly joke, have the whole room laughing with them, but not at them. And it's interesting how I can put a positive spin on that. And I guess you did too as well, especially with how you asked everyone questions. But the situation could be dire for one of the party members, you know, meaning It's difficult at home, or a lot of negative self-talk. And is it called deflection? Is that what that is?
Yes, and Kevin, I think again you're revealing yourself, because I've seen you. I saw you at our retreat,
Right.
and you were hilarious. So it sounds like you have an inside track on what funny is and how it can work, because then people are so involved with their laughter and they're hunting for a different side of us, right? They're hunting for the show side rather than the scary internal who I am side.
That's so true. Wow. And so when you were experiencing the situations with the toxic parents, I guess especially your mother, were there any techniques that you found that really helped you, empowered you, guided you? What helped you get through that?
So things used to be different for me. And that was when I was flying beneath the radar. What I really used was something that works poorly in life, and that's just hiding. Like, oh, can I just dodge where my mother is looking? Because that was the safest way.
Isn't that a shame? Yeah.
And when I could dodge her, I could even sometimes get what I wanted, because I could go and do something that I knew she wanted. I can remember one night when I wanted to go to a movie. And I went and did some things that she wanted. She had been in a foul mood before that. And I thought, okay, just stay with it. So in one sense, I learned perseverance.
Wow.
So the skills that I learned served me then, and they were more about the tenacity and perseverance of just stay with it, just stay with it, just stay with it.
Wow.
I mean, and that came through in high school when I studied and studied and studied, right? Because that was a place where I could get rewarded for something.
That was me too. Big time. I went from an F student in middle school, and I immediately became a straight A student when I entered the school when I was living with my very toxic father and his wife. And the school was a way for me. My lessons were a way to escape into my own bedroom with the door shut, because I didn't want to deal with all the toxicity outside the door. And all I had was my books to immerse myself in. And I found if I did well, then the other adults around me celebrated me when no one else did. And that's where perseverance but I also learned about performing to get my emotional rewards, which is still a challenge. I can feel it.
Well, and you perform well. This conversation even just reminds me of one of my beliefs. If we want to get to know somebody, lean in, tell them about us, because just in this conversation, we have a tremendous amount in common that we have taken out in very similar ways.
Wow.
And so what is happening is I'm feeling closer with you, because it's like, oh, yes, we're more similar than we are different.
It's amazing. It truly is. Now, you took your lessons and at some point you wrote a book. Would you tell us about your book?
Yes, Kevin, I've been teaching skiing for over 50 years.
Wow.
So I'm a really physical person. I'm kinesthetic. I like doing things with my body. I do something physical every day. I do 10,000 steps.
Wow.
And so I was teaching at Deer Valley Resort in Park City, Utah. And there was this little boy. He was actually 22 months. And I had been teaching his sister, and his dad said, "Can you teach Peter, the 22-month-old?" And I said, "Well, let me see." And I said, "Peter, walk over to your dad." And Peter had ski boots on, and ski boots are big. And he walked right over to his dad, and I went, "Yeah, I'll take him." I took Peter out in a snowstorm. He lasted 45 minutes in a snowstorm, focusing, because I had Rat Lab. Are you familiar with Rat Lab?
No.
Rat Lab, I had it when I took psychology in college. In Rat Lab, you take a rat that is totally untrained, they call it naive, and I taught the rat how to press the bar, my partner and I did, by depriving the rat of water.
Right.
And then when the rat pressed the bar, it would get water.
Oh.
So the other instructors at Deer Valley went, how can you teach that kid? And I went, if I could teach a rat to press a bar,
Right.
I should be able to teach a kid to turn a ski. And so I developed a technique. It's quite simple. And so I asked the parent if the kid is pre-verbal, which he failed to talk to me at that point, what the child's favorite foods are. And I named the child's legs. So say the right foot is peanut butter and the left foot's jelly. I just say peanut butter, and move the foot, peanut butter. And then I take my hand away and say peanut butter. And if the child moves the foot on its own, then we can start.
Huh.
And so I say peanut butter and way to go, peanut butter.
Oh my gosh.
And that's all there is to it.
How crazy. It's so simple. It's brilliant.
Yes. And so my book.
I love it. That looks great. Teach your 3-year-old to ski. I love that.
So that's me, and the information.
Oh my gosh.
It's on Amazon. Teach your 3-year-old to ski, Caron MacLane, and that book has tricks that work for 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and like I said, even up to adults, because it's about cheering people on, celebrating their successes. Right. And just describing what you want them to do.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So you did speak about you're very physically oriented, exercise oriented, and I know, and so clearly you're a ski coach. And so do you do any kind of well, you probably do coaching every year in the greater Seattle area, maybe Canada. Where else do you coach?
Well, most of my coaching is virtual.
Okay.
Except for skiing. So most of my coaching is virtual. I just had somebody reach out from Amsterdam because I do this kind of coaching called RIM, which is regenerating images in memory, which goes into the subconscious.
Beautiful.
And so you can, with RIM, I can get deeper into people. Wow. And they can unlodge things that were lodged.
How beautiful. I love that. And so this is and now you're a clarity coach. So you're helping them get clear on the things that maybe they're challenged with in life, or especially with this RIM technique, where you possibly go in to bring forward unconscious memories to the conscious state, and to help them address issues, maybe remove some of the challenging thoughts or perspectives or that they're having, self-talk, and replace it with powerful talk. I love that.
Yes.
Get clear.
Yes. I believe some of what I do is similar to what you do. It's I pay attention to the words and what are coming out of their mouth, and then figure out who they are by doing some assessments so that they can learn to be who they are.
Oh, wow.
So if you take, just say, Jung typology or the Myers-Briggs, and take that, and then I give them actually, if are you familiar with Myers-Briggs? You get four. Yes. So you put the 4 letters in a search engine, and you can get a ton of things just about who you are.
So true.
And people are unfamiliar with that, and so I give them certain websites to read, ones that I have selected, and then I ask them what resonates with them so they can tell me about them.
Huh.
And then that's a double win, because then I know who they are better. And then when I know who they are better, I can speak to who they are. I mean,
is that your favorite test, the Myers-Briggs?
That's one I like.
Uh-huh.
I like the Strengths Finder too.
I love that.
Are you familiar with that?
If I remember correctly, because my academic training is in nursing for the last 30 years, so it's been a while since I've studied it. But I have to, if I remember correctly, it has to do with I'm going to say things that they are really good at, or talent, skills, that sort of thing in life. Maybe numbers.
It's your top 5 strengths. And so I have done that. And one of my clients looked at him and he goes, yeah. And so, because he was so used to them, I'm like, now you can tell people what they are.
Oh, funny.
Now I know what they are. Now we can discuss what they are.
I love that.
And so I had a client and he was strong in woo, which is winning over others.
Ah.
And in his job, that was part of his job. And he came and he said, oh, work is horrible. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? Are you doing woo at work? He said, oh, we reorganized. I'm totally off that. I'm like, well, that's untenable for you. That they may have reorganized you, but there's nothing in that job that is going to make your heart sing the way the other job did. I started looking for another job.
Fascinating. Not just a tiny little insight could open closed doors or reroute the journey.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's the advantage of a third party. Because I can see things as I'm listening that people miss. They're telling me and they're just like, oh, really? I mean, I had a woman come and she had described her weekend and how horrible it was. And she had been to a family wedding. And by the end, she was feeling very proud of herself because I had said, wait a minute, you went and checked on these relationships. You found out you still dislike them. And now you can do a reality check. And now you can change your course because you were hoping to be closer to these people. And now you realize, forget it.
Isn't that amazing? You know, that's the power of having a coach, and a private coach who can devote time to you. And, you know, I know that a lot of people hire coaches for different things, resume writing, interview preparation for jobs, and job hunting coaches, and coaches to train you to be a speaker. And so why do people hire you as a clarity coach? Why do they seek you out?
People hire me because they're overwhelmed and they're confused and they're uncertain what to do. They just feel like they're in a hamster wheel and they're doing the same old overwhelm and the same old confusion over and over, and they're tired of it. They're like, I want a way out.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, let's talk.
Wow. And do you find that your clients, once they begin working with you, probably within a few weeks or a couple of months, do you see a lot of change? Do you see empowerment or growth with them?
Oh my gosh, yes. Because one thing is I work with their language. And just by changing our language, we can turn around how we experience life. So I believe strongly in I statements. And once I speak the world through I, then I take charge of it, and that's how I see it, and then I can affect it.
Wow.
I had got stepkids when I was 51. I got married for the first time when I was 51, for the only time when I was 51. And I got stepkids, and that was one of the rules. Use I statements.
I love that.
And one of the boys would come, my brother's doing this, my brother's doing this. I go, where are your I statements? He goes, I don't like it when my brother does this. I go, well, did you tell him?
That's cute.
Go tell him. I said, you know, I mean, like, I want to be out of the middle of these fights. I want them to deal with their fights.
I love that.
It happens for adults too.
Isn't that brilliant? See, coaching generations. You're a legacy coach. You're affecting, I love that. You're like rippling out into time generationally.
Yes.
But it's really true. The power of word, you literally, you know, in that moment when the young boy came to you and was disturbed by what his brother was doing, and he was blaming someone else, and then you said, and you said, well, all you did was ask a question. You didn't have to correct him really necessarily. And it totally shifted his mindset to, okay, well, I don't like when he goes. And then you said, all right, fine. Did you tell him that? Well, no. Well, okay, go tell him and let me know how it goes for you. and what you're doing, from what I can tell, is you're placing responsibility right back to where the problem seems to be, which is in his head. And you're having him address it. So it's very smart, because you're not giving your power away in that moment.
Yes. And then our common denominator is Lisa Nichols. You've heard Lisa Nichols say that, right?
So
okay,
true.
Say I.
Yes.
Okay, say I. And there were adults that were unfamiliar with that. And that changed things immediately when they started talking.
Powerful. Yeah, communication is truly amazing. And would you share with our viewers the program that we're in?
The program that we're in is Lisa Nichols Certified Transformational Trainer Program. Mm-hmm. And it's a mouthful to say, and it's a mouthful to chew on, because it's an extensive program. And we've gotten to know each other first, just even online. And then we were fortunate enough to meet in person in the Bahamas, which just added to the experience of connecting with each person and connecting with the program.
So true. So true. And, we learned so much about the power of negative self-talk and replacing it with powerful, uplifting, empowering type words and concepts. And it was really so deep and revolutionary, the breakthrough retreat in the Bahamas that Lisa offered. And I think it's probably one of the most profound things I've ever attended.
Oh, right.
Yeah, truly profound. It was so personal, very personalized, even though it was in a group setting, which is really amazing that was able to be accomplished. But what she had us do was really sit down with the concepts that she would present, and have us go internally to find, where are we with this statement? What do we have to say about it? What do we have to share about it? And as we began sharing, we started noticing, and especially when others shared, oh, I'm not alone. I can hear myself in her words, or XYZ. And that was nice, because we didn't feel alone. It felt like others were on the same journey.
Well, and that's one of the things that I'm experiencing with you today is like, oh my gosh, in addition to being with somebody, it's really close. I mean, our trajectories are like right on the same path.
So true. Yeah, very, very true. Interesting. And with your the work that you do coaching wise, have you considered creating like a 6-month program or an immersive program where people can visit with you virtually, maybe in a group setting?
I am considering it now, because I've only done one-on-one up till now. And this is what I'm hoping to use as a platform to step.
You should. Yeah, you should. It's wonderful. Just the ability to reach out to new people. And even if we start with 5 people, like I tell my students, if we start with 5 people a week that we work with, it doesn't take long to figure out this works, this does not work, what serves the customer or the viewer or the attendees best. And it just begins to build on itself, one event after the other. So the more you do, the better you get.
That's right. I have gotten better at coaching because I've honed my intuition, and I've cut out all that lead time. Like, are you maybe? And instead of just, I can like go to the point, like, okay, what's going on? It's like, this is what I'm experiencing, is that, or this, I say, the story I make up is, and they go, yeah, that's right.
I love that. What do you think is one of your most favorite techniques when working with your clients? Is there a tool, an exercise, a technique that you have that either makes you laugh every time you offer it to them, or it just it just makes you beam because you know what it's going to do for the client.
Well, this has surprised me, but one of the things that I really like that I learned from Rim is called the lullaby.
Huh.
And in the lullaby, all I do is say positive things about you. So if I did a brief lullaby about you, it would be, oh, you have such a wide rod of people who love you. Oh, you're so talented. You are so funny.
Huh.
You and I just keep going on in a melodic tone, and people the people like you and I have never had a lullaby.
That's true.
And for those people to have a lullaby, they're silent, and they'll let me go on a really long time.
That's interesting. And so you use that tool in what capacity with them? Is it just a nice offering, or is it a tool to speak to their heart and put a little salve on it?
It's usually a little salve. So people come, and this one woman, she would come just totally distraught.
Oh.
And I could tell, she was an introvert, and talking would be a lot. And so
Wow.
I would start on that. I had another man recently, and I'm uncertain I'd ever done a lullaby with him. And he was talking about the energy and what it was like, because he was out of his house because it was being remodeled.
Right.
And what that was like for him, and that he felt displaced. And this is the man that I've worked with for years.
Huh.
And just like that, I picked up, oh, imagine what it was like as your 7-year-old self.
Wow.
And then I just started, your young boy, you who was wanting to be all you could be, and your dad would come along and squelch you. And you were without any place to really feel comfortable. And I probably did a 20-minute lullaby on him, and he was like, wow. He says, this is the advantage of having a coach that you've been with for a long time, because I just picked it up on that.
Oh, wonderful. It definitely sounds very healing and it's an interesting way to share your knowledge, your experience, your inspiration, your intuition, your energy with another person in a way that heals the mind, body, and spirit. And it probably recenters them incredibly well, such that their challenges don't seem to be as strong or as connected to them, and they can just be in the moment. It sounds like a really interesting technique that I could see I would have used in certain situations now.
Yes, feel free to use it.
Wow, that's interesting. Very interesting. I had a client many years ago, and I'll be honest, it didn't go well because we only met for a couple of times. I couldn't seem to pull her out of her shell. She was such a quiet woman, and she'd always been taken care of in relationships. And I think to the extent that they took over her voice, and she was such a quiet lady. And I noticed that when I tried to empower her, inspire her, motivate her, give her ideas to help her find her purpose in life. Now, this was before I really knew what I was doing, and it didn't go anywhere because she goes, I don't have a purpose. I don't really like anything. Nothing makes me happy. And she was sincere in her words. She wasn't crying yet or anything. But she just didn't believe in herself. And it was like pulling to get the information out. And by the second one, I said, I don't think we're a match. I think I'm going to refer you to someone, because I just didn't know what to do with her. I needed a lullaby. And I think that would have brought her out a little bit more, that I could have worked with her. And because I'm a talker and she was not. So
well, it gives you a chance to use that talking. So you could go into something like, so I'm going to tell you a story about a little girl who was without a voice. and she sat and she only talked to herself. And you could
Oh,
use your
that's how you do it. Okay, now I get
imagination.
it. I get it. Okay. I was thinking like a preacher because I was like, okay, how would I inspire these clients? What can I say that's beautiful? That's beautiful and inspirational. But I like the way you did it. So I built my little fantasy story, my little lullaby based on a symbolic version of them without saying it's them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have that creativity.
Oh, I like it.
It's one of your skills.
You know, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell myself, I have never done public comedy. I've never done that.
It's
So
too late to say that. You already did now.
I did it. I walked away and somebody said, wow, we didn't know you could do that. I said, I didn't either. I've never done that in my life. I just let the little Kevin out that's a little quirky on camera and quirky on stage, but I keep him controlled, keep him on a leash. And it was kind of fun.
Yeah, and now just think of what you could do with someone else's lullaby when you say, and then I took the leash off.
I know.
And that little Kevin just ran free and had so much fun.
That'd be fun. I love that. Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. I think our viewers will really enjoy that. I would like to ask you one more question because I know you're a busy lady, but is there a question perhaps that I did not ask you that you would have liked to have had me ask, and how would you have answered that?
So the one thing that occurs to me is that, do I have anything for your viewers? And yes, I have a class coming up that is without a charge. And it is changing reaction to response. And all you have to do, it's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so 4 o'clock my time. And it will be the first Thursday in August, so August 4th. Okay. And so that's the question and the answer all rolled up into one. Reach out to me, Caron, Caron, at claritycoachcaron.com.
And what we'll do for our viewers and our listeners, what I'll do is I'll place this information also, probably within the next few hours, we'll capture this information and make sure that you all have links to the free event, which should be pretty amazing. And also so that you can check out her book, you can check out her website, check out her social media, stay in touch with Miss Caron MacLane, our Clarity Coach of the Day. And winter's coming, so if you need a ski coach, if she can train a 3-year-old to ski using peanut butter and jelly symbolism, she can teach anybody. So there's hope for all of us, even me. So Miss Caron, I want to thank you for joining us today on Live with Kevin Lee and being a part of this community. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you very soon. Again, I'm Kevin Lee. I'm your coach in purpose and possibilities. Much love and much light. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Bye, Caron.
Bye. Thank you so much.